Tom Whitman here, HVAC Business Academy. Today we're going to go over delay responses. You've gone through the entire sales presentation. You've identified exactly what your customer wants. You've established a short list of goals. Your customers prioritize the goals. You've built your presentation to speak to everything they want their system to accomplish. You let your customers select the piece of equipment and how much of the work makes sense. And right now, you're ready to prepare your customer to buy. The sales process is designed to inform your customer why they should buy, all of the reasons they should buy. This delay response process uncovers the reasons the customer is not buying so that you can solve the problem. Fundamentally, this is how it works. I want to walk through the basic outline of the system so you can see how it flows. You're going to prepare your customer to buy. Second step, you'll assume the sale. And at that point, they're either going to buy or they're going to say, I want to think it over. If they buy, schedule the work. If they say, I think it over, go to the next step, which is always explain the payment options the first time you get a delayed response. After you explain the payment options, one of two things will happen. You're either going to get a delayed response or the customer is going to buy. If they buy, schedule the job. If they delay by saying, I still need to think about it, then move on to the next step, which is to reset that appointment. Once you reset that appointment and advance the sale to the next step, then you ask a follow-up question to uncover the real reason they're delaying buying tonight. I don't have the money. I'm going to do it when I get the money later. I'm just not sure if putting this much money in my system is the right thing to do right now. Or I just need to make sure I'm not overpaying and I'm going to get other bids. So let's role play through each step of this so you can get a good understanding of how this works and the words to say. You have the scripting that you can download and follow along. Let's go through the first line, if we will. Preparing the customer to buy. You want to make sure that the customer clearly understands and sees how the system they selected solves everything on their list of goals. It would go like this. Well, Mrs. Smith, it looks like you selected an excellent piece of equipment. Now, can you see how the equipment and the scope of work is going to solve everything on your list of goals? Okay. Does this all make sense? Do you have any questions? Okay, great. Well, for you to get what you want, it's going to cost $7,595. The next step is to decide what day is most convenient to install it. We could do it next Thursday or next Wednesday. Which would work best for you? Now, at that point, assuming the sale, they're either going to buy or they're going to delay. Let's suppose they delay. Well, Tom, I need to think it over. Okay, well, let me explain our payment options. You could pay by check, or you could pay by credit card. You could pay part by check, part by credit card, and keep the monthly payments low, or we could finance it for you. What works best for you? Now you just be quiet, listen. If they decide to go with the financing, fantastic. If they delay, go on to the next step. Tell them, I really just need time to think it over. Okay, well, I can understand that. It is a big decision, and my wife and I often take our time making major purchase decisions like this too. Let me ask you, when will you be making a decision? Oh, by next Thursday. Okay. Well, it's not uncommon for me to visit my customers 2, sometimes 3 times until they're comfortable with the scope of work and the price, and we can work with it until everything's just right. I have an opening next Thursday about the same time. How about I pop by then and we can review the equipment selection, scope of work until you're comfortable with the price. Then we can discuss scheduling the work. Okay? Reset that appointment. By virtue of resetting the appointment, you're going to close a lot more sales. Once that appointment is reset, the next step is to uncover the reason the customer isn't buying. Now I'm going to recommend that you get step 1 through 5 down. Get it down. Okay? Treat that as one section and resetting that call. Get practiced and very good at that. Then focus on this next part. Mrs. Smith, can I ask you a question? Most of my customers that do take their time to think it over, It's usually because one of two reasons. It's either because they want to do it, but they don't have any way to pay for it right now, or they're just not sure if putting this much money into their system is a good place for their money. Which one are you? Right now, they're going to tell you one of four things. I want to do it, but I don't have the money. I'm going to do it later when I get the money. I'm not sure if putting that much money into my system is a good place for my money right now. And I want to make sure that I'm not overpaying for the work by getting other bids. Each four of these need to be handled basically the same way. The first thing you want to do is to restate what they said so that you're clear, and they're clear on the issue. Then you want to isolate it to make sure there's nothing else in the back of their mind, that this isn't just a ghost or something masking the real reason. And then once you find out, and this is the only issue, then you solve the problem. It goes something like this. Let's take the first one. Well, I really don't have the money right now. Okay, so you don't have the money right now, is that right? You have no way to pay for it? Right. Well, let me ask you, if you did have the money, would there be any reason you wouldn't schedule the work? No, probably not. Oh, okay. Well, we could finance it for you, and the payments would be somewhere around $200, $150, gosh, maybe as low as $120 a month. A lot of our customers put a little bit down and finance the balance of it to keep their payments even lower. Which one works best for you? Give them specific options that solve a problem, but if you're prepared to solve that problem, you're going to be equipped to close a lot more sales. So let's say it's the next one. I'm going to do it in 6 months. Well, Mrs. Smith, you say you're going to do this, you're definitely going to do this project in 6 months, right? Yep, 6 months. Let me ask you, what's going to be different then? Well, I have a bonus coming up in about 5 months, and I'm certain that's going to cover it, and that's when I'll do it. Okay. Well, let me ask you, if you had the money right now, would there be any reason not to schedule the work? Well, no, probably not. So, well, we have a program where we can actually install the complete system and do all of the work today. And you don't have to pay anything, no penalties, no interest, nothing for 6 full months. You can have the system put in next week. You can enjoy the comfort, enjoy the savings, help the savings offset the investment, and pay it off within 6 months and everything's good. That'll work, right? Specific solutions that solve a specific problem is what it takes. Okay, so let's say I'm not sure if putting this much money into my heating and air conditioning system is a good place to put my money. It would go something like this. Well, Tom, I'm just not sure if I want to spend that much money on my heating and air conditioning system. Okay, so what I'm hearing you say, Mrs. Smith, is that you're just not sure if this is a good place to put that much money right now. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Well, let me ask you, if you were certain that investing a little bit more in a system that's a little bit better is a great place to invest your money right now, would there be any other reason you wouldn't schedule the work? Well, no, probably not. Okay, well, work with me for a moment. I think you're really going to appreciate this thought process. Now, Mrs. Smith, right now you have to do something because your system isn't working. Is that right? Yeah. And as you know, to do the bare minimum, it's going to be about $3,200 just for the basic system with very few warranties, right? Yep. 1 year labor, 1 year parts, and you have conditioned air for your home. We're talking about a system that is about $4,200 more than that. Not only the system, but also everything else you wanted your system to do for you, right? Right. So what we're really talking about is the initial investment of $4,200. Right? Well, yeah. Okay. Well, a few things to consider. First of all, this system, for 10 years, you're not going to have to worry about putting any more repair or unexpected repairs into the unit. Now, even the basic system or the system that you have, you'd have to believe it's safe to say that over the next 5 to 10 years, you would easily spend $1,000 in repairs. Is that fair? Yeah, okay. So over 10 years, I'm going to write down $1,000 right here. Now, when we did our operating cost projection of just a basic system and how much that would cost to operate compared to the system that we're talking about, the system that we're talking about, Mrs. Smith, will save you roughly $350 a year over this basic model that doesn't cost as much up front, right? Yeah, so that's $3,500 over 10 years, right? Yeah. Okay, so that totals $4,500. About the same amount the overage. Mrs. Smith, if I could show you a place where you could invest $4,500 for 10 years, and that investment would give you a guaranteed return every year of over 10%, what would you say? How about we just go ahead and take care of this for you? You'd be surprised how many customers will buy once they say, you know what, that's a good reason to spend a little bit more and be more comfortable. Okay, the next step, what if they say they're getting other bids? So you want to clarify this with the customer, and you have to be confident too. Confidence, man, that's what it's all about. Your body language, tone of voice, and the words you use is very, very important. So you have to be confident in what you say. Okay, so you're going to be getting other bids. Yeah. All right, so what I'm hearing you say, Mrs. Smith, is you just want to make sure that you're not overpaying for the work. Is that right? Well, yeah, quite frankly, I am. Okay. May I ask, how soon will you be collecting all of your prices? Well, probably next Friday. By next Friday. Okay, well, that's soon. That's great. It's not uncommon, as I said earlier, for me to revisit with my customers 2, sometimes 3 times, just to make sure that they're comfortable with the equipment, scope of work, and the price, especially when they're checking some things out with other contractors and getting other bids. It would be my pleasure to pop by Friday evening or Saturday afternoon just to review the scope of work, make sure you're comfortable with the additional work, the equipment, and the price, answer any questions you might have, and then we can discuss scheduling the work if it makes sense. Will that work? Okay, I'll see you next Friday. This process is effective. If you use this delay response system, you're going to be prepared to uncover the reasons your customer is not buying and satisfy the problem, solve the problem. There's a subtle shift with this. Before, at least for me, I had always thought of objections as something that I had to fight or push out of the way. I never really thought of them as a problem that I could solve for the customer. This solves problems for your customer. All we have to do is discover the problem. Okay? They're not buying from you right now because they have a problem that they don't know how to solve. You know how to solve it. The words you use can uncover the problem and then solve the problem. So, prepare them to buy, assume the sale, explain the payment options, reset the appointment, ask a probing question, uncover the reason that they're not buying. That's your first step. You're going to have 4 things 80% of the time why they're not buying. I want to do it, but I don't have the money. I'm going to do it when I get the money. I'm not sure putting that much money into my system is a good place for my money right now, and I just want to make sure I'm not overpaying for the work. Be prepared to solve those problems for your customer. Be equipped to walk them through this process. Find the gaps, tighten it up, work it out, and you will be in a position to go make it happen.